Good morning, everyone. Chris here with Inspired Energy, and joining me this morning, Hartwell. Morning,
Good
Hartwell.
morning. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. So this morning we decided to change it up a little, and we thought that we would open it up for questions and things coming from all of you. So what we can do is just simply start having a chat about some of the things that we've noticed or questions that we've run into. And then you're welcome to type it in the comments, and I will ask Hartwell to share that with us. So, for this morning, one of the things that I think I understand that we get asked a lot is about what what is the most important part of the chart to pay attention to. So if I'm on my journey and I'm trying to, develop myself, what part of the chart should I pay attention to the most? Is there one that's kind of sticks out?
Um, well, I can't answer anything in a very simple way. Most things don't lend to a simple answer. What I would say to that is if you've had a reading from somebody who is well versed in human design and it
Mhm.
resonates, then really take seriously the idea of tuning into your strategy and authority,
Mhm.
and really trying to implement them and see what happens. Um, if you want something to pay attention to, you could pay attention to and think about, okay, I'm open in this particular center. What is the not self theme? And is that something that I can, in a sense, release? So, for instance, if you have a tendency to people please and avoid conflict because you're emotionally undefined, then um, maybe you could turn your attention to what am I sensing about other people's emotions? Can I really make the distinction about it being theirs and not mine? And can I let go of this need to identify with emotions that I pick up from other people? So
Mhm.
that's probably how I would answer that.
Okay. Well, that's a good answer, I guess.
Well, it's
um,
my current answer.
yeah, exactly. So, is there one thing that you would tell people to pay attention to when interacting with others? So, like, is it a good idea to have those people in your lives, like to study them as well as yourself in human design? Like, does that help?
I think it helps. Knowing and looking at the design of people that you know can be useful because it reinforces the idea that we're each unique, and
Hmm.
you can maybe more easily let go of any behaviors you have around wanting other people to be like yourself, and
Hmm.
at the same time free you up to be and empower yourself to be yourself. You
Right.
can't be someone else. So studying other people's charts reinforces that, in that it maybe creates space for you to give them permission to be who they are and yourself to be who you are.
Well, I think what comes to mind is it creates understanding. So it creates an
Yeah.
understanding of how you are and how they are. And then you can figure out how to maneuver through each other's energies and how you can get along, right? Basically. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it because you're honoring the
Mhm.
uniqueness of yourself and the other person. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
Christine Marsh has a question for you. What are some of the most powerful slash complementary gate combinations you have ever come across? Good question. I like that question.
Um, when we talk about electromagnetic connections between people, we're talking about the something that brings people together and sparks them. So somebody having one half of a channel and you having the other half. There are some channels where that seems to work better. And there are some channels that maybe that doesn't work so well. Like the 59 and the 6 is an example of something that works quite well, I think.
So what is 59-6?
The 59 and 6 come together between the sacral and the solar plexus, and it's called the channel of mating and design of reproductivity. And gate 59, the gate of sexuality, is in the sacral, and it meets up with the gate of friction, gate 6. And so this is a very sparky one. It is about sexual attraction, energetic attraction, the capacity for intimacy to happen. And that seems to be, in human design lore, that seems to be one of the things that works quite well, 59-6. Now, this is not so much based upon my own experience as what I've read. What else? The 15-5 is probably an example of what not to do. I mean, if you're drawn to them, you're drawn to them. But the 15-5 creates a channel of rhythm, between the G center and the sacral. And one is called the gate of fixed rhythms, and the other is called the gate of extremes. When you meet with a person who has the opposite gate from you, that doesn't necessarily work so well, because that is an example of something being quite extreme. Nothing really springs quickly to mind when you ask me that question, Christine, except for the 59-6. Yeah, nothing else springs quickly to mind. So
it just brings up something that we talk about all the time. We talk about chart envy, right?
Yeah.
So, we all look at other people's gates and channels and like, oh, I wish I had that. Oh my God, that sounds so awesome.
Yeah.
And then we tend to ignore the ones that we have and the gifts that we have. So are there any gates and channels that create the most chart envy that you've seen?
Well, I think that's in some ways quite individual, because, some of the things you might end up admiring they might be actual gaps in your design, like bridging gates, or they might be something that's on the other side of something you have defined. But if you're wanting to know what I think are the sexiest or most enviable ones, I might say, well, I like the gate of mystery, gate 61 up in the head. It's like, oh, the gate of mystery, that sounds so cool, man. That sense of getting Gnostic knowledge. Or gate 57 coming out of the spleen, the gate of intuitive clarity, which is very intuitive.
Right.
I really like gate 58, the gate of vitality, down in the root center, because, it's about juiciness and vitality and being tigerish. Gate 51, or channel 5125, which is the channel of initiation, the bridge between the ego and the G center, the lower and the higher self. That's pretty amazing. That's that ability to go beyond where you are now and into other realms of your own evolution. It's it's a drive and a push to evolve and go outside of your comfort zone. That's a pretty cool one. So there's a lot of cool ones. Those are probably some of the ones that are most, because I think our collective conditioning is also causing us to think certain things are sexier than others,
right,
or more desirable than others.
But I think the word triggers something. So in human design, the word isn't necessarily what it means, in a good way or a bad way. Because even the words, like we talk about things like tension and defiance and all of these words, right? And we go, oh, that doesn't sound good, but it has a place, and it's beautiful when you step into that energy of what it's meant to be, right? So
that's correct.
That's programming of the words that we're using, right? So
That's a really good point. Things like the gate of judgment, or the
Mhm.
gate of limitation,
Exactly.
gate 60, or the gate of contraction.
Mhm.
These don't sound as exciting as some of the
Yeah,
other ones.
exactly. So
Yeah.
maybe we can talk a little bit about so people have had their initial reading with
Yeah.
you or with somebody. How do you see them going deeper? Like what kinds of steps would they take to go deeper in human design? Like what are they looking at doing?
This is a really profound question, Kris. I'm
Mhm.
asking it for myself. I'm
Mhm.
asking it for my clients, but first thing, I'm asking it for myself. First of all, in the human design community, they would say not everybody's going to be drawn to this information. Not everybody is going to feel like it has value for them. It's not going to catch them. It's not going to instigate anything in them. And
Mhm.
that is part of our fate, perhaps, or destiny. Will this energy resonate? Will it have? It will it will it feel like you want to take it somewhere or work with it?
Mhm.
Now, if you do want to work with it, then you start to say, okay, can I really get a grip on this idea of strategy and authority? Is that making sense to me? I mean, it might be other things that sort of resonate you more powerfully, right?
Mhm.
And then it's saying, well, if this resonates so powerfully, maybe let me try this. But where I'm at in my own process right now, and this is in some ways a little bit more difficult for projectors, is, you know, how do I really employ my strategy and authority?
Mhm.
And what I'm coming to realize is that um, because I have a mind that works like a synthesizer and alchemist, then I know a lot about the systems. So just because I'm studying human design doesn't mean I want to throw away the others. So one of
Mhm.
the marriages that's coming out of this for me is the awareness of how important it is to be in connection with our bodies.
Mhm.
And human design does point towards that. Are you paying attention to your own experience? Are
Mhm.
you making your own personal experience in the world primary?
Mhm.
That is, are you connected to your body, your senses? Are you connected to your breath?
Mhm.
Because unless you're willing to be connected to your own organism and your own design through your breath, through your body, through your sensory life, you're not going to be willing to pay attention to your inner authority, which
Mhm.
is a body based thing. If you're
Mhm.
clinically defined, you're spontaneous, that's in the body. If you're sacrally got inner authority, that's about paying attention to the response of your energy to the environment. If you are emotionally defined, it's about are you paying attention to the process that you're going through of getting to emotional clarity where nervousness no longer exists in your decision making process. These
Mhm.
are body based things. If you want to simply remain in your head, and human design gives lots for you to think about, then you're not actually going to benefit in the way that human design is meaning you to be benefited.
Mhm. So Christine is sending us another question going back
Good.
to what we were talking about before. And she says, on the flip side of that, which we were talking about, the words and things and how they don't always seem that wonderful. She says, has a client ever seemed fearful or seemingly rejecting of aspects of their own chart, perhaps because they do not yet recognize those aspects in themselves?
Um, yes, that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where there has been this sense of um, resistance, or no, that doesn't seem really like me. Doesn't happen often,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it has happened, and
I
it's hard for me to know what's going on there because they're having their own uniqueness and their own
Well,
journey.
I think I can speak to one. Like, I think sometimes it's the word itself. So, if, for example, when you said, I have the channel of deafness, and I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I can hear everybody. Like, you know what I mean? But that's not what it means. What it means is that I have my own inner authority and ideas and beliefs. And when I'm strongly in it, I can't be moved or shifted by something. So,
yes, it means that, for those, there's three gates of deafness. And if you have one or more of them, you and I both have two out of the three.
I'm just disappearing for a second, so you got to keep talking.
Yeah, it means that if you have one of those gates of deafness, what it means is that you're designed by design to be less open to the thoughts of other people, because you are meant to be tuning into your own particular wisdom, your own particular channel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually a positive thing for you that you're less prone to accept the input of the outer world.
Yeah. But you don't, when you hear the word, your first instinct is to reject that, because you're taking it as, you're interpreting it as meaning I can't hear, right?
That's correct. And there is a lot of language in human design that is like that.
Mm-hmm.
Ra was quite an eccentric person.
Mm-hmm.
He was a manifester, and he was very persuasive and powerful in many ways, and he could be quite irritating too. And a lot of the keynotes that he gave, he said, were keynotes for the not self.
Mm-hmm.
So they were words that, in a sense, resonated more with the person acting in their in not self than in their true self.
Right.
So it's like, oh, that's irritating. It's so sometimes you have to dig with it and sit with it for a while.
Mm-hmm. So is there anything before we sign off here that you would like to tell people about their charts, or diving in deeper, or any questions that you might think are important for them to think about?
I would say that if you're on the journey to loving yourself, which I think is one of the things that all genuine spiritual paths point to, genuine spiritual paths also point to releasing attachment, releasing the things that get in the way of our expression of our true self. That's a common theme, not just human design.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that encourages you to marry two things. First of all, be more aware of your own individual experience, unmediated by your ideas and mediated by the opinions of others. In a sense, any activity, whether it's meditation or yoga or singing or artistic activity, or that encourages you to be in touch with your own unique way of being,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
is going to work synergistically with whatever your interest is in human design.
Mm-hmm.
Because we want to uncover our true nature, and human design is very much a aid in that process, I believe.
Mm-hmm. So with that, I'm just going to thank Christine and everyone who joined us this morning. If you do have more questions, we will be doing this again sometime in the future. So think about them, write them down. We enjoy this kind of interaction with you out there. If you have any further questions and you want to dive deeper into your chart, you can book a reading here with Hartwell, and it's 587-596-3333. They can be done by Zoom or in person, whichever. We're happy to be of service. So I would say God bless, and it'll be a surprise whatever we decide to do next week. So with that, have a wonderful day. Try to stay cool. Bye, everyone.